So, welcome everyone. My name is Ann Siskos. I'm a program advisor here at the Institute of Holistic Nutrition. I have a professional background in education. I'm also a graduate of IHN. Today's IHN webinar is being hosted by Paul Demeda. Improve your life by reducing toxins in your home and your body. It is an excerpt from the upcoming continuing education course, Clinical Detoxification. It will be running for 7 Wednesdays online, starting in September on the 11th and finishing October 30th. It runs in EST time in the evening, 6:30 till 9:30, and PST time in the afternoon, 3:30 till 6:30. For more information, you can go to the IHN Continuing Education tab, and you can click on there to register. It's a popular and valuable continuing education course, so get your registrations in. There are 20 participants for this course. As of now, we do have room. So for today, the format, it'll be approximately an hour webinar, followed by the Q&A at the end. But if you have any questions along the way, feel free to pop them in the Q&A box, and then I'll collect them at the end. Now, about our presenter. I am pleased to introduce you to the very knowledgeable and highly respected Paul Demeda. He will share his vast expertise with us all. Paul has empowered people to consciously and holistically manage their health for close to 20 years. He's dedicated to investigating, clarifying, and explaining important nutrition concepts and issues. And he's an ardent proponent of critical thinking in the context of health and published research. Paul taught at our core diploma program for 17 years. And currently, he works full-time with his work as Program Facilitator at ISOM, that's the International Society for Orthomolecular Medicine, as well as running his private clinical nutrition business. At ISOM, Paul spent over a year updating the world-renowned Dr. Abram Hoffer's original book on schizophrenia, now titled Light on Schizophrenia, to support and validate Hoffer's work. Paul is driven to increase awareness of the foundational role nutrients play in mental health. As such, he teaches our Nutrition and Mental Health Con Ed course, as well as the upcoming Clinical Detoxification course. Everyone, please enjoy the talk today, and Paul, welcome. I pass it over to you.
Thank you. Well, it is nice to be here today, and I am excited to talk about this lecture we're going to do today on detoxification, and largely because I have two main passions in life when it comes to nutrition and health. One is mental health, and the other is detoxification. And you can't have mental health without detox, so they kind of go hand in hand. So we're going to talk about that today, which is good. And I think we will just dive right in. And I'm going to share my screen. And we should be good to go. So improve your life by reducing toxins in your home and body. And that is a hot topic today because our toxic load is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And our capacity to do detox is getting more and more stressed. And so we're going to talk about a little bit about where they're coming from and a little bit about what to do about it. So I kind of threw this together today because I was thinking about what would be important way to start this. And so if you're going to do detoxes with people or yourself, there are kind of a few things that need to be in place. And you need to be, number one, confident enough to recommend it. And that's important. And so where does that confidence come from? It comes from knowledge, right? And experience. And You need to convince people that a detox is a good idea, or yourself that it's a good idea. And you need to explain, if you're giving a detox to somebody, you need to explain what the detox is, why they're doing it in a way that they have enough knowledge so they feel comfortable about it. And then you have to give them clear instructions, right? And that's the perfect recipe for getting somebody doing a detox. But right after that, they're going to leave you, go on the internet, and they're going to start searching detox, and they're going to find lies and propaganda left, right, and center. And so I just got a couple examples here. Science-based medicine looks like it's science-based. It's not. Detox scam, how to spot it and how to avoid it. They got good old Dr. Oz there. He's a side victim there. And they show a lot of things that are, we know are useful, but when you put the word scam around it, that doesn't look so good. They repeatedly pull up the foot baths thing, which is so easy to attack. I got to tell you, I have seen the research on foot baths. I've seen clinical studies, and they look really good. It really looks like it does detox and pulls things out. But my brain here still has trouble going, yeah, you're just sticking your feet in the water. So if I have issues with it, it makes it easy target. And why you can't detox your body, it's a myth. And then detox scams are worthless and potentially dangerous. And it just goes on and on and on. Some of the lies, we're not accumulating toxins. There are no toxins. I've pulled these all from websites. And so basically say it doesn't exist, so you don't need to detox. And yet this is a classic study that was done many years ago now by Environmental Working Group, and 287 chemicals in umbilical cord, blood, and 217 toxic to the brain, and nervous system, 208 caused birth defects. If we didn't uptake chemicals, they would not be in the umbilical cords. Environmental mercury and its toxins, the entire paper on that, there are literally hundreds on that. Epigenetics, that basically shows the toxins affect the genes. Risk factor for diabetes, environmental chemicals, and it goes on and on and on and on. Detoxes don't remove toxins. I hear that one all the time. And this was a nice little study, and it basically showed it was a 7-day program of detoxification, 23% increase in liver detox capacity measured clinically, and improved liver function. So detoxes do work, and detoxes can be harmful. Well, yeah, anything could be harmful, even water when it's not done right. But so I did a nice PubMed search and got detox harmful and got 14 results. And so then I go, I wonder, what about medications? So medications harmful, 32,586 results. Seems to me if these people are concerned about safety, they would look at the low-hanging fruit, which is this one, and leave detox alone. But, that's not what they're there for. You also hear this one all the time. Body's fully capable of eliminating toxins we're exposed to. We don't need to do anything. That was actually true a long time ago. I don't think so anymore. Because it ignores chronic low level exposures, which are everywhere, and increased load that just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And I like to do this. Okay, so I know when we had the full capacity detox, probably 1,000, 2,000 years ago, and that's when our detox systems evolved to basically handle our detoxification needs. There's a few things around now that weren't there then, like heavy metals, pesticides, chemicals, exhaust, mold toxins, chronic stress, maybe a little bit for this, but typically back then, the stress was short-lived and then gone. We also didn't have back then nutrient-free food, toxin-rich food, sugar and starch-rich foods, which we have too much and causes all kinds of problems in the body, including stressing out our detox capacities. We have genetic polymorphisms now tied to detoxification that back when wouldn't have been that relevant, but with an increased load, become problematic. And then we actually have 40 to 60% less nutrients in their food if you're eating good food. If you're eating the processed stuff, even less. This was a nice article I found. I just want to pull it out. Medical community is against detoxing. They constantly belittle it. But the nice quote from the author was, but make no mistake, the medical community absolutely understands the principles behind detoxing and encourage people to practice their recommended versions of it, which is under their guidance using their drugs. So there's a little bias there. All right, let's take a look at what detoxification actually is. And there's a couple different ways to look at it. I think the broad level is processes that modify and remove toxins from the body. So things that the tissues and organs do in conjunction with decreasing toxins coming in. I like to go with the more technical definition, start there and then incorporate that into the broad one. But the technical one is the biochemical processes that modify toxins for safe removal from the body. So enzymes, conjugation, that kind of stuff, which we're going to talk about. So how does it work? If you understand this and you can explain this, and you've covered the part about here's how detox works and why we're doing what we're doing. So here we go. We have toxins represented by the T. They come into the liver cells, and we have these liver enzymes. That's what this little box represents. And what they do is the enzymes will change the toxin. So we're going to start with water-soluble toxins. The enzymes come in, they change that toxin, they make it less toxic, or they make it water-soluble. Well, these ones are water-soluble, but they make it more easy to get rid of them, and then they get dumped into the blood. So toxins come in, go to the liver, go back into the blood. From the blood, they go to the urine or the lungs or the skin for elimination. In order to do that, we need vitamins, minerals, protein, and antioxidants. Why? Because every time we detox a molecule, we generate a free radical. So we need to have that antioxidant support. We need the protein to make the enzymes, so amino acids. We need minerals and vitamins to act as cofactors for those enzymes. So that's what it takes to do water-soluble toxins. Let's say the toxin is fat-soluble. So in it comes, we can't put fat-soluble back in the blood, so we have to modify it, and we have to make it water-soluble. So the first step is to modify that toxin, and we actually make it more reactive. That's why it's in red here. It's actually more dangerous now than when it came in. So then what happens is it goes to another enzyme. So this is the phase 1 enzymes. These are the phase 2 enzymes. And all those enzymes are going to add a conjugate, so a conjugate molecule to the toxin to make the group, the conjugate and the toxin, water soluble. And so there it is. It's the more reactive, so it sticks to the toxin and it's stuck to the conjugate there. And then once that's happened, the toxin can go either back into the blood or it goes into bile and it's eliminated through the GI tract. So here's the key nutrients needed for detoxification. So covering all the aspects of what I just did there, vitamins and minerals and protein, antioxidants like vitamin A, C, E, glutathione is the big one, coenzyme Q10, superoxide dismutase, so a lot of these antioxidant enzymes. We need the whole set of conjugates there. And the most important one is glutathione. It does most of the protective work. So the main antioxidant for phase 1 is glutathione, and also phase 2, but it's also the main conjugate, one of the main conjugates that we stick to the toxins. Got a little bit here on nutrients we need to make glutathione. So vitamin C, NAC, alpha lipoic acid, glycine, glutamic acid, some of the B vitamins, selenium, and zinc. And the reason I show this slide so often and to clients and anybody I'm talking about detox to is that the thing to understand here is detoxification is an additive process. You add things to detox better. You don't remove things to detox better. Now, in the old days, you could do a fast and get away with it because you had nutrient reserves and didn't have a lot of other things that were basically impacting the body and using up nutrients and enzymes and things like that. But nowadays, with a toxic load, you need to support first with the toxins. And basically what happens as the liver's capacity to detox increases, the stores of toxins get released to be processed at the rate that the liver can handle it, right, with the nutrients that are provided. So I'm going to talk about glutathione here. And so all of those nutrients have essential roles. Glutathione is one of the key ones. We're going to take a deeper look into that and see the importance of it. And so here we go. Antioxidant defense, like I kind of mentioned there. And so neutralizes the singlet oxygen or hydroxy radicals. These things are generated from detox reactions there. And then superoxide, which is one of the most reactive antioxidant or free radicals that can happen in the body. So very important antioxidant. Glutathione also regenerates antioxidants. And so we can see here, there's glutathione, and it is regenerating ascorbate here. There's a cycle that happens. Here is a saw breaking down hydrogen peroxide, so superoxide dismutase, which then couples with the ascorbate cycle, which is then replenished by glutathione. And so there's this complex interaction of antioxidants. And so glutathione is one of the key ones in all of that. It's required for conjugation, like I mentioned here. So here we have the glutathione molecule, and then here we have some sort of xenobiotic, some chemical pesticide residue, and what happens is the residue is stuck onto the glutathione molecule, so conjugated. So all the conjugates work the same way. Reduction of peroxides. So the process of detoxing generates free radicals, and some of them are peroxides, so oxygens paired with other molecules on them, so very damaging. And then lipid peroxides, so damage to the fatty components of cell membranes and other components. And so we get some protection from that. Remember, if you damage your cellular structure, or the cell membranes or the organelle membranes, then the machinery that does detox doesn't work as well. The liver cells themselves start to degrade. But glutathione plays a role in that detox enzyme. So GSD stands for glutathione peroxidase. And so there it is. And this is a glutathione molecule. There's the enzyme. So basically you get that, and that's the enzyme that sticks the two together. So glutathione is part of the enzyme that does the sticking together. Glutathione directly binds heavy metals. So here's some glutathiones, two of them, and bound in the middle is mercury. So it helps bind mercury, lead, and cadmium. And one of the things that glutathione does is it transport mercury out of the cells and the brain as well. It's one of the few compounds that will actually do that. Also, glutathione will regulate cellular proliferation and apoptosis. We want to do those properly so we don't have too little cells and we don't have cells running away and going into cancer. And it's also vital for mitochondrial activity. So mitochondria provide the energy for detoxification because detox reactions are energy dependent. So how do we support glutathione? This is from a nice article from two orthomolecular presenters over the years. Foods that improve glutathione status include lean protein sources. So guess what? Eating good quality red meat and other animal products, including dairy, good for supporting glutathione. We also have plant sources, brassica vegetables, polyphenol fruits and vegetables, herbs, spices, green tea, omega-3s, and that kind of stuff. This is also from the same paper that we just cited there. And so these are their recommendations for keeping glutathione up. Brassica vegetables, so cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, kale, cabbage, fruit and vegetable juices. But you got to watch the sugar. So you have to keep them not too sweet. Green tea, 4 cups a day. That's quite a bit of green tea. Salmon and whey protein is very good because it's a good source of cysteine. Cysteine is one of the backbone molecules of glutathione. And the key thing to keep in mind is foods that contain glutathione. Typically, the glutathione is very low, and there are issues with absorption as well. Some of the foods actually work better as providing precursors for making glutathione than actually providing glutathione. So if you take an in-depth look at the research, like I've been doing, it's weird. One paper will say, hey, these are good sources of glutathione, and then you get to the fine print and it says they're not actually sources of glutathione, they're glutathione precursors and upregulators. So I kind of look at it this way. I don't really look at getting glutathione from foods. I look at boosting precursors for glutathione. And if I do that, I am going to get some glutathione from food as well. So let's look at the nutrients, though. To make glutathione, vitamin C, and they put ranges in 500 to 2,000 milligrams a day. That's low for vitamin C dosing in my books, but that's what they say. I've seen a few studies that show you can actually raise glutathione levels more effectively by high dosing vitamin C than by supplementing glutathione, which I believe is valid. We have vitamin E. Vitamin E is actually, and vitamin C, they work by taking the antioxidant pressure off of glutathione so that more of it stays usable because some of the free radicals are being taken care of by vitamin C and vitamin E. Selenium is required to make glutathione. We got the omega-3s, and then we have glycine, which is one of the other backbone components. One thing to look at this is, what are the chances of getting that kind of dosing from food if you don't dedicate your entire day to jamming in foods that are rich in these things? It's pretty low. And so proper detoxification, raising glutathione levels, especially when they're low, is going to require some kind of supplementation. There's more things that are tied to raising glutathione. Alpha lipoic acid, which doesn't directly get built into glutathione or used to make it, but it takes the pressure off of glutathione, and it also acts as an antioxidant and binds certain toxins as well. So decreases the glutathione load. NAC, so the cysteine molecule, it's easier to get cysteine into the body and utilized by the body in the form of NAC, so N-acetylcysteine, than by supplementing just cysteine, although just cysteine will help as well. And then curcumin has some roles in maintaining glutathione, but also acts as antioxidant and anti-inflammatory to keep the total load down. Their recommendations for glutathione liposomal 500,000 to 1,000 milligrams a day, and or oral 500 to 1,000 milligrams a day. The dosing for glutathione can go up to I think it's 10 gram range. So this is quite low, but it's for general public consumption, reading it and people making decisions based on what they read. Orthomolecular functional medicine doctors would go higher, and they would also use IV glutathione as well. Here's some more interesting ways to raise glutathione. So the study, moderate coffee consumption increases plasma glutathione, but not homocysteine. And so basically what they found is drinking coffee. Now, we're not talking the stuff from the fast food restaurants. We're talking good quality, clean coffee does in fact raise glutathione. There's many studies on that as well. And so another one, alcohol-free beer raises the red blood cell glutathione by 29%. This is a paper published by Joseph Pizzorno, who I consider to be probably one of the world's top experts on detoxification. I kind of laugh at this because I have no reason to believe that beer with alcohol doesn't raise glutathione. I think the difference here is that some of that glutathione is going to get used to detox the alcohol. But so far, nobody's done a study specifically saying, hey, if we use alcohol-included beer, will it raise glutathione? But why does it do that? Not really sure. I don't think they are quite sure on the mechanism either. So some thoughts on how to detox. This I pulled from Healthline, most common ways to detox. And so let's take a look here at what the general public is being told. Fasting for 1 to 3 days. Is that a way to detox? It's not actually detoxing. It's not detoxing because we are not providing nutrients or mechanisms to upregulate or support the chemical reactions that turn a toxin or basically remove toxins from the body. It does decrease the load, but as you fast, you start dumping toxins because as the cells die off, they release their toxins, right? When you start going to catabolism, you release the toxins, and now you have toxins in the bloodstream without increasing the capacity to detox them. So that one is a no. I'm not to say fasting's not good, but nutrient support must come first. Drinking fresh fruit and vegetable juices, where I talked about that, so that is okay. Drinking only specific liquids like salted water and lemon juice, that one is a lot like the first one there. It's like fasting, but you're adding certain things. I had 2 clients who, after they went away from working with me, they both had cancer, and they did the master cleanse, the lemon juice and cayenne pepper, and what's the other one, maple syrup, and then water. Both were dead within 3 months. Their livers failed. So cancer is a highly toxic environment. So, nowadays, I don't think we could do it. 100 years ago, 200 years ago, that kind of stuff, I would say would be acceptable. Remember, for me, there's only one consideration is it safe and does it, well, 2 considerations, is it safe and does it work? Eliminating foods high in heavy metals, contaminants, and allergens, yeah, that is not a detox, but it's one of the things you do to support detox is basically stop the toxins coming in. Taking supplements or herbs, not really a detox, but they do support or actually upregulate detoxification. Avoiding allergenic foods, then slowly reintroducing them, that's not a detox, that's a allergy cleanse or allergy elimination protocol. Using laxative colon cleansers and enemas, not really detox, but does support it by bulk removing toxic load. Exercise is good, but it's not detox. And then eliminating alcohol, coffee, and cigarettes or refined sugar, they're not detox. They do help reduce the load. I find it interesting that Healthline actually has an ad for plant-based protein, which is way, way, way more toxic than the food it's supposedly replacing. Okay, cleanses and fasting. So this is a component. These things have been around for thousands of years, actually. Lots of water, liquids, take the bad stuff out of the diet because you're basically removing either foods and other liquids other than water typically. And and sometimes we get more plant content depending on what kind of fast it is or what kind of cleanse it is. So if you do this improperly, basically what happens, you don't provide the supporting nutrients and binders, then we get something like this. And this is from a paper called Avoiding Problems with Special Diets. And so inadequate nutrition may often be explained away as a healing crisis or bad detoxification. And what the reality is, these are adverse reactions arising from nutritionally inadequate diets. So without the nutrients, then to support the detox, then the toxins get in the blood, they get sent to the liver, they typically get made into more reactive molecules, and then they get sent back into the body, and then they cause problems. So we must support it. Now, if you do it properly, potentially safe and effective toxin removal, you really need to know what you're doing. Now, there are people who can do these things, and they do them all the time. They more than likely have adequate nutrition to support the liver, or the duration is short enough that they don't deplete or they don't run through their nutrients before they run through or finish doing their cleanse or fast. I'd like to talk about the 3 stages of detox. I think I thought about this for several months before I finally was able to get all my thoughts together and put it down on paper, or on ones and zeros in this case. And so there's 3 stages of detoxification, and it goes like this. Stage 1, you want to decrease incoming toxins. Like Dr. Pizzorno said you can't dry off in the shower. You have to get out of the shower if you want to dry off. You have to get out of the toxic load if you want to detox. So step number 1, decrease those incoming toxins. And what are we talking about? Sugar, wheat, gluten, dairy, alcohol, processed foods, non-organic foods. These are all sources either directly of toxins, or they generate toxins in the body. And then coffee. Coffee is an interesting one. I have read many, many papers on the benefits of coffee for detox, and over several years. And then Dr. Pizzorno spoke at our conference, I think it was the second or third time, and somebody asked him about coffee, and he said, I'm on the fence now. Before I said no, and now I don't know. There isn't enough research for him that he's done that says coffee is bad for detox. And in fact, it looks like coffee is supportive of detox. So, but good, clean, organic coffee. And so, about decreasing incoming toxins, non-organic food or produce. If you don't know about this already, take a look at the EWG, so environmentalworkinggroup.org, and look up the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. You can just Google EWG Dirty Dozen and you'll get that. And basically, it shows you the 12 most toxic foods, we'll say this year, because they go and they sample the foods every year. And so basically they said, if you get rid of the Dirty Dozen, you can remove 80% of the toxic load that you're getting from conventional produce. So these ones are there. There's 2 that I would add, carrots and potatoes. Farmers grow carrots and potatoes if they want to clear toxins out of their soil, so they can get their farm certified organic. They're very good at sequestering pesticides and other toxins. So just decrease the incoming toxins, carrots, potatoes, non-organic eggs, dairy, and meat. The eggs and dairy are going to be higher sources because the most pesticides and heavy metals are fat. Well, all pesticides and heavy metals are fat soluble, so they tend to accumulate there. Farmed fish is not grown in ideal conditions. So if you do use farm fish, then be very judicious and do your research. And then the larger fish that accumulate toxins up the food chain. Additives, preservatives, artificial colors, flavors, sweeteners, all toxins that we bring in our food. And I pulled this shot from the course, and I just went into a grocery store and snapped off some shots before they tried to stop me. And basically, none of these foods are fit for human consumption as far as I'm concerned. The toxic load is greater than any nutrient load. And but a lot of people are eating 80% of that is where their diet is. We also get toxins from cooking and storing. Aluminum, Teflon, plastic are all sources. Problem with these guys is they react with the food, especially fat in food, and they transfer to the cooking, or you'll get like aluminum if you cook something acidic in there. Like the worst thing you could do is lasagna with an acidic tomato, hot, and some fat in there. And basically the aluminum comes right out of the pan or the tray and goes into the food. Teflon's bad, plastic's bad. It's pretty much everything that we do for convenience is shortening our lives by reducing our detox capacity. But that's not all. Things we use in the home, especially for personal care, toothpaste, it's got fluoride, a whole bunch of other things in it, soaps, shampoos, conditioner, deodorants, fragrances. If you see the word fragrance on something, you should just put it back. These are some of the most toxic things you can have in your environment, especially since they go in through the olfactory bulb, which touches the base of the brain. And we know there's transfer of molecules that way. Lipstick. If you do sign up for the detox course, we'll go in deep depth into all the sources and the chemicals that are in these things. This is where women get most of their toxic load other than food. It's all these products. And the interesting thing is you can get all of them naturally, right? You can easily get them. They're more expensive, may not work quite as well for doing certain things, but you can definitely swap them out. Air fresheners. In the 1980s, the EPA, when they worked for the people of the United States, the Environmental Protection Agency, not the corporations of the United States, published a paper that said air fresheners are the most toxic thing you can bring into your home. They are designed to distribute the fragrance into the air, and the chemicals they use to distribute those emulsifiers or the carrier molecules are all cancer-causing agents. So since, clean does not have a smell, so this one always baffles me. The dryer sheets and the detergent, and freshness doesn't have a smell either. Cleaning products are good sources of toxins as well. And then things we use in the home. We don't need to go through this list at all. One of the key ones to keep in mind, though, is pressure-treated wood. There's a guy who bought a house three houses down from my mom and immediately set about putting up a 6-foot wood fence around the entire property, all pressure-treated wood. The chemicals are going to leak out for the next 15 to 20 years out of that wood and poison the soil. It's crazy. All right, new problems. And we got the microplastics. So that's the new hot thing. This is probably an environmental disaster that, if we don't do something about it, will be the end of humanity. I don't know how long out. We don't really know if we can remove microplastics. We've now found microplastics in the brain, inside the fluid in the eye. It gets everywhere. Microplastics are tiny, tiny, tiny little pieces of plastic that can no longer be broken down. They easily slide across the blood-brain barrier. As far as I know now, the only way to deal with them is to avoid them. Keep in mind, 80%, according to this last study I read, 80% of microplastic load comes through inhalation. And where's the inhalation source coming from? It's the breakdown of plastic containing clothes, polyesters, the bed sheets, the rugs, anything that's made of plastic breaks down over time, gets into the air. It's super fine. So now I've heard people talk about doing fasting so that as you break down your cells, the catabolism, you release the microplastics, but I haven't seen anything to say that you don't just reabsorb them back into cells. We know that you can do some removal of them because we find microplastics in urine. So some of them are going, but body stores are going up as well. Nanoparticles are other different molecules they're super tiny and they behave much like microplastics. So once again, avoidance is key. Okay. So some of the key toxins that we worry about most are heavy metals like lead, cadmium, mercury, aluminum, and bromine. Those are top of the list. And then pesticides, the things that are hormone mimickers, and there's lots of them. And then sensitizers are molecules that synthetic chemicals typically that basically interfere with the way detox works, stress out the detox system. And so the more you're exposed, the more you become sensitive to other environmental chemicals. So that was phase one. You decrease that load, take the pressure off, get out of the shower. So step number two is that you want to support detoxification. And so there's 7 foods. I believe this is according to Patrick Holford there. Good quality protein supports detoxification, and legumes and beans for the fiber, some of the protein, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, fiber, and binders, so like fiber and binders. And then there's molecules in Brassica family plants that upregulate detoxification. So they turn the enzymes up, increase their activity and number. Oranges, tangerines, and citrus peels kind of work that way as well. Same with dill and caraway. Flaxseed or ground flaxseed acts as a binder, binds the toxins in the GI tract. Dark leafy greens are a good source of some nutrients, but we're looking in this context as methyl groups, and folate and B12, which we use in the methylation cycle, which is very important for detoxification. Turmeric is anti-inflammatory because of the curcumin component. Curcumin is an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and upregulates overall detox capacity. Supplements support detoxification. We already covered those. For some reason, screen's misbehaving. Milk thistle is interesting because it does have antioxidant properties, which is good, but it also helps regenerate damaged liver tissue. So good on a couple aspects there. Other things that support detox, a good high quality multivitamin or multi-mineral, because we want to support the full spectrums of nutrients required for detoxification. Greens, drinks, and powders are good because they provide things like chlorella and spirulina to act as binders, but they also provide a broad range of nutrients that the detox enzymes will use. Got probiotics in there, and because we know that the good bacteria in the GI tract do actually detox some of the toxins that are in the gut, but they also decrease inflammation, inflammatory compounds get in the bloodstream and go systemically, which affects detox as well. And probiotics help keep the integrity of the intestinal lining, which helps prevent toxins just wholeheartedly or wholesale leaking into the bloodstream and then becoming a problem. Binders support detoxification because once the liver's done its job and the toxin's been put in bile, that bile gets dumped in the GI tract. And if you don't bind it up, then we're going to reabsorb it, including with the toxins we just detoxed. I've read a few studies, depending on what you eat, the bile that we generate gets reused up to 5 to 7 times for the same meal. So dump it in, reabsorb it, dump it in, reabsorb it. So binders are an important part to make sure we remove what we remove. But, binders also grab onto toxins that are in the food supply or in the water and things that we, drink. So that's good. Now, that was about just basically supporting the detox machinery to do its job every day. And so now some people have a heavy toxic load and we want to go deeper. And so now we've supported the liver to do its everyday job. Now we want to drive deeper detox. So actually, I should refer to this. Phase number 1 was to stop the supply, so that this represents like a muddy river filling a pond. Phase number 1, you stop the muddy water, or you stop the mud in the water from coming into the pond. Number 2 is you address the toxins that are the mud that's in the pond, you clean that up. And phase number 3 is you go and get that residue that's been sitting at the bottom of the pond for decades, and you want to get that out as well. So how do you support deeper detoxification? You got to provide the nutrients needed for detoxification. And here we go. Somebody doesn't like what I'm talking about. Okay, you want to upregulate. So first you provide the nutrients that are needed for the liver to do its job. Then you want to turn up the speed that the liver enzymes work and the number of them. And then we wait. You want to increase bile flow. The more bile you make, the more you can get rid of the toxins that you're generating in the liver. Increase digestive tract motility. So a lot of detox formulas will have things like phenol in them and things that upregulate peristalsis, because you want to move things out as fast as you can. And you want to bind those toxins in the gut. We want to upregulate the kidney function, so make it better at doing its job of disposing or pulling toxins out of the blood, but you also want to protect it at the same time. And there's one more: support the lymphatic system, because when a toxin leaves the cell, it has to go through the lymphatic system first to get to the liver in order to be detoxed. So there are products out there that support liver detox the way I like to support it, by basically increasing the amount of nutrients for the liver enzymes to use, upregulating the enzymes, and then increasing the binders and increasing motility. So these are a few of the ones that are popular now that you can still get. Because I'm not sure about this one. But that one we can get, Ultra Clear Plus, and get in the Thorn, I think it's Mediclear Plus is what it's called. And the reason I like these is because this is a typical one. I don't remember which one it is, but if you look at the ingredient list, we have protein. We know protein's important. We have antioxidants, vitamin A, vitamin C. You have vitamin E there. You got the B vitamins, which are required to make the energy to make ATP to do detoxification. Also methylation support. We have the methyl donators there, and we have minerals. Why do we have minerals in a detox formula? One of the main reasons they're here in these amounts is as you pull, say, a lead out of your bone tissue, you don't want it to circulate around and drop back in. So there's calcium there and phosphorus. And so as you pull the lead out, the minerals drop in. So basically we're helping to push out the toxins, the heavy metals particularly. There's magnesium in there because magnesium's used for many, many processes. But one of the things about detox is it's kind of stressful mentally and emotionally, and magnesium helps handle that. We have zinc and selenium there required to make glutathione, and a few other things. Molybdenum's required for detoxing alcohol, running some of the phase 1 enzymes. We got fibers there for acting as binders. And then we have the glutamine and glycine are precursors to glutathione. Alginate's a binder, chlorel's a binder. Glutathione is there as the antioxidant, glutathione promoting nutrients there. You have MSM because there's 7 binders. One of them is methyl groups, so methylation, and then sulfur groups, the sulfation, and then the sulfur is also built into glutathione. So MSM is a good detox molecule. There's the alpha lipoic acid. There's milk thistle to support the liver. We get the broccoli for the compounds that upregulate, balance detox. And then we got glucarate, which calcium D-glucarate. It's one of the conjugates there. So we have a full spectrum formula here that provides everything you could need for detoxification, kind of at the base level. Super support. I do I think it's about 2 teaspoons of Ultra Clear Plus every night before bed, just so that I get this action. There's other products that do this as well. Detox Pack by Douglas Labs does it instead of a powder that you make drinks out of. It's a bunch of different capsules. Pretty much the same thing. They're all there. Quickly talk about detox kits. I'm not a big fan, at least initially in the detox process, because basically what they provide is herbals that upregulate detoxification, bile formation, and the GI tract. Some will have some limited nutrients. Herbals aren't great for nutrients. Like foods are better, but mostly the action is upregulating. So if one of the things I found over the years with experimenting with these ones is I felt terrible on it. Probably, I like to say, I joke that it was that me and my former wife doing one of these detox packs, I won't say which one, was the beginning of the end of our marriage. And because super moody, super unpleasant for 3 days until I got vitamin C, and then 6 grams of vitamin C a day actually took away all that stuff. So you don't want to upregulate without supporting with nutrients. Further support for detoxification. Gonna make me wait. All right. Limiting food intake, which helps. So solid food, decrease that down. Limited fasting. Sauna is good because it helps you flush toxins out of the skin. Juicing provides nutrients. We'll leave it at that. And coffee enemas. How do coffee enemas work? They increase glutathione production by the liver. So there's a feedback loop in the GI tract, and it says, oh, there's caffeine here. We need to detox it. Let's upregulate detox. I wondered about this one for years. That's why I looked into coffee, drinking it, and there's no reason that coffee taken orally doesn't work the same way coffee enemas do. So they both upregulate caffeine. Colonics work by bulk removing toxins. And so key things to keep in mind for detox. Sooner or later, GI tract must be working well. You do not want to be backed up. I had a woman come to me. She was in terrible shape, GI pain, sick as a dog, flu-like symptoms, and did the intake. She's working with a naturopath. Naturopath had her on 3 herbal detox formulas while she was constipated. No nutrient support. And so basically she was just dumping the toxins into her blood and recirculating them and getting very sick. Now I see the gods of technology are misbehaving. All right. So don't detox if constipated. Drink lots of water. We use water. We do hydrolysis reactions. So we use water to break things apart. We also use water to flush things out. We use the water to make bile. You want sufficient fiber. If people are doing, say, fasting, I would want to get maybe not fiber, but binders in there like activated charcoal or bentonite clay, just for ensuring we're getting rid of the toxins. Support a neutral pH. There's something called zeta potential, which basically determines how tightly molecules bind together. And with a acidic body, they bind tighter, which means more problems getting toxins out through the cell membrane. Okay, extra vitamin C, always. You have to be emotionally and logistically ready to do detox. Don't do it if you're upset about something or you're going through a crisis in your life, because the brain uses, I think it's like 50% or hold on, was it? Yeah, 50% of the nutrient load sometimes. So you don't want to be stealing that, what you need for your brain to run by doing a detox when you're not ready. Also, logistically means have everything you need to detox in advance. Don't do a detox when you have a wedding in the middle. You just ruin the wedding for everybody. Okay. Uh-oh. So what do I do in practice? Sure, good digestion, address leaky gut if that's an issue, build the person's nutrient status. Typically, I go a month, but sometimes 2 months before I even talk about detox. If that's something you do, address emotional imbalances or at least support them with proper nutrients, because every mental health issue has a nutrient component to it. I look at the general detox kits, like the powders first. Basically get the machine running, and now we're going to do this again. And then based on individual needs, lymphatic protocol or heavy metal detox, homeopathic detox remedies and other measures, and then repeat the process as needed. When I had my chemical sensitivities, the protocol that I did with the naturopath was the Ultra Clear Plus or one of the other powders. We rotated them around. Do that for 21 days, a week off, do a heavy metal detox using specifically targeted heavy metal formulas, break, back to the Ultra Clear, heavy metal, Ultra Clear, heavy metal. Did 6 rounds of that in 6 months. And that was it. So I think this is the takeaway. No matter how clean you're going to live your life, or your client's going to live your life, or your family's going to live your life, the food's going to contain poisons, the water's going to contain poisons, the air is going to contain poisons. We're exposed to toxins every day. Therefore, we need some sort of support for detoxification and toxin elimination every day. So think daily detox support and then specific detox protocols. And that is what I have to say about that. Just want to remind you, I have my website. If you want to know more about me, I actually haven't updated this in a couple of years because I'm too busy working with my ISOM stuff, but there are some good content there, especially under articles and recipes that stand the test of time. If you want to check out what we do at ISOM, we have done mental health pages. That was another year of my life and a research person. So we have the main mental health conditions, and we basically describe what they are very briefly. We describe what they are from an orthomolecular perspective, contributing factors, what they are, the nutrients that are tied to mental health issues, and how to use them, and then some basic first steps. We've got a COVID-19 page, which is basically very relevant for COVID, but also pretty relevant for any respiratory tract infection, including the upcoming pandemic bird flu one. There's a page on insomnia, which is quite useful. And then there's the book Light and Schizophrenia. And last but not least, clinical detoxification is coming up, starts September 11th, 7 classes. I'm actually away on the 25th in Arizona for a naturopathic conference, but we will make up for that after. So it'll be 7 sessions starting on the 11th. And that is all I have to say about that. Hope you found it interesting. Okay, I think it's time for the Q&A.
Okay. Paul, so informative, up to date, empowering, and detailed. So thank you so much. We have a number of questions that are coming in. So there are quite a few that came in the chat box. I'll read through those. If any more questions that you want to ask, if you could, please put them in the Q&A box. That's just a little bit easier for me to keep track of. So, okay, Paul, here we go. First question, would glutathione be safe for those with braces, stainless steel crowns or braces in terms of pulling heavy metals?
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion about, hey, should you get your fillings out before you do glutathione and other molecules that detox heavy metals? And I know I was taught that when I was IHN. The evidence says you should empty the barrel as much as possible, even if you can't get rid of the heavy metals or the braces. So the question is, how would glutathione affect, we'll say, molecules coming off the braces? Well, if you take glutathione orally, it's already past the teeth. So then the only other way is then it has to, the metals from the braces have to get into the stomach and the GI tract and through the saliva. They're going to do that anyway, whether you have glutathione or not, right? So as far as I have seen, no interaction.
Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying that, and as well as the amalgams. Okay, another question here. What do you use to cook in then? Stainless steel pans, cast iron?
Right. I use good quality ceramics most of the time. Do have a stainless steel one. And so ceramic coated like fry pans and things, but then also ceramic cookware and then glass for things like in the oven. Try to stay away from anything where the like aluminum is touching the food, so it has to be coated. Definitely stay away from Teflon, any of those inexpensive, what do they call them, stick-free surfaces. Yeah.
Okay, great. I maybe want to add something about the ceramic coated surfaces. You have to know your source because there's some questionable products on the market that say they're ceramic.
Yes. Yeah. So with anything, you really have to do your research nowadays.
Right. Okay, great. How does an overloaded liver affect gut health and digestion, other than bile production and breakdown of fats?
How does the gut health affect
How does overloaded liver affect gut health?
I think there's a couple mechanisms because there's the feedback loop between the gut and the liver. So if the liver is unhappy, you're going to kind of make the GI tract unhappy. But I think the bigger issue would be toxins getting into the GI tract and the GI tract not being able to help them get rid of them, and then damaging the microflora and the gut membranes or the microvilli cell membranes.
So potentially could you have gut upset after you start detoxifying if you don't have the right supporting nutrients and binders and things?
Yes. Is that you or is that the question?
That's not the question. That's an add-in from me.
Yeah, so you were listening.
I have heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically what happens. So if you don't bind those toxins properly, then they are going to damage or they're going to make the GI tract unhappy.
Okay, great to know. Next question. What is the best way to take milk thistle? By tea, tincture, or supplement?
Yeah, all of the above. So depends on, like, the tea is going to be a weak source, but it's good. If you drink tea, then that would be good. The supplements are going to be more concentrated. There's going to have more of the molecules in there. Tinctures could be good, but the dosing might be small. So, yeah, I would probably go with the supplements first, and then tincture second.
Okay, great. Same person is wondering about dandelion leaves or roots to support liver and detoxing.
Yeah, I know the leaves. I think the roots as well are basically what they do is they upregulate bile secretion and peristalsis. Anything bitter is going to increase peristalsis and secretion of bile.
Okay.
Dandelion has been used for centuries.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. How much glutathione would you recommend daily for neurodegenerative issues such as Parkinson's?
That's a good question because there's a lot of studies that, well, first of all, there's very little research altogether talking about Parkinson's and nutrients, but the studies vary when they talk about glutathione. I would kind of say a small amount of glutathione, like 200 to 500 milligrams, and lots of vitamin C and lots of precursors for glutathione is a more constructive approach.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next question. Wondering how long outside of breastfeeding would you recommend somebody begin pushing detox?
Like how long after breastfeeding?
Pushing detox. I would say, yeah, probably after breastfeeding.
Right after stopping breastfeeding, unless you're talking about breastfeeding for the day. So detox is not advisable at all for the entire duration of breastfeeding.
Okay.
That's actually not true. Detox support would be like providing the nutrients for the liver, but doing a, say, heavy metal detox or something like that, definitely not.
Right. Okay.
And if you're going to think of breastfeeding, I would get a hair mineral analysis to make sure that you're not full of lead and cadmium and mercury and passing that on. It kind of gets complicated because if you are, then you need to be doing some support for that. Yeah.
Okay. Can you re-explain the example you said on lemon and water? It was missed due to a poor connection?
Right. So things like just drinking lemon and water and nothing else, or like the master cleanse and not doing any other nutrient support, they basically what's happening is you're providing enough, say, maple syrup to provide glucose to make ATP to survive, but no nutrients for detoxing. So if you are already nutrient poor and have poor detoxification, just doing the water fast or the lemon water fast is going to allow the toxins, like the cells are going to break down due to catabolism and release their toxins, and there'll be no support for the liver, and then you can get into problems.
Great, thanks. That makes sense. How can we help clients detox from the COVID injection?
Okay, I'll do the real simple way. Google Dr. McCullough and spike support formula. And then you'll see his formula because him and a few other doctors have compiled a supplement that includes the key nutrients for detoxing spike protein. You could also go to the COVID page on the ISOM website and look at the basic first steps. And we have the nutrients to take during COVID, if you have COVID, but they're also the nutrients that basically the body uses to either suppress the activity of the spike protein or help detox it. So 2 ways to find it there.
Okay, great. Yes, we want to get that out. How much glutathione would you recommend on a detox? The dosage and how long? Any brand in specific that you recommend?
Right, I'll do brands. No brand in specific. As long as it's glutathione, That's the ingredient on the back, then it's glutathione. I actually don't recommend glutathione during detoxes. I recommend the precursors. So vitamin C, NAC, alpha lipoic acid, zinc, and selenium, and then also curcumin, which helps upregulate. Oh, and then the glycine as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah. We did see that list. And for all of you out there, you'll get this recording. So if there's anything you missed, you want to rewatch, you can do that as well. Next question. If we use milk thistle in detox, could it also be hormone disrupting, especially for women?
I don't think so. Like, I'm trying to think of a mechanism. Basically, what milk thistle does is it protects the liver while it's doing its job of detoxification. I don't think, the liver regulates hormones. It doesn't take away too many, or it doesn't take away if we have enough or we're at the right level. It doesn't reduce them. It detoxes the levels that need to be detoxed to maintain that balance.
Okay. Okay. So not really any contraindications specifically with hormones balancing.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I wouldn't go like crazy on it though, right? Super high dosing, because we don't really have a lot of research on super high dosing, but normal, a supplement that contains glutathione is one of the, or milk thistle is one of the ingredients. That's the way I would go.
Okay, great. Thank you. What are your thoughts on Renew Life Cleanse Smart Kit?
I haven't looked at that one in a while. I think like in years, actually. That one it's kind of for the general public, and it kind of plays it safe because it's general public and they say, hey, you can take our product and use it all the time. I believe it's got a lot of binders and a lot of nutrients. I would, like, if I was working with somebody, I would go with the ones that I showed on the screen there. I don't think it's bad by any means. I just would go with more professional grades.
Okay, great. Thank you. Which phase is the Ultra Clear Plus most useful? I'm not sure if that's your pond analogy. And added to that is which additional supplement or nutrients to include in addition to that powder.
Okay, so let's say in the context of phase 1 or phase 2 liver detox, it's designed to support both and activate both. As far as the 3 phases of detox, I basically use Ultra Clear Plus or one of those other powders as the part 2, which is supporting normal detox function. Other supplements that I use, it kind of goes this way. Vitamin C for sure. And then depending on the person, we start, tailoring it. And so maybe more zinc, more selenium. Typically I would try to do that with foods a little bit. Definitely fish oils would be added to get the inflammation down, but fish oils also upregulate one of the conjugate pathways. So I think we'll leave it at that.
Okay. Would you do anything differently to support detox for someone with non-alcohol fatty liver?
Right. So non-alcoholic fatty liver is not a toxin problem. The toxin problem is a result of the fatty liver problem. And the fatty liver problem, most of the time, comes from fructose overload or too much sugar and starch. So we would start by adjusting the diet and then supporting with antioxidants and anti-inflammatory, because ultimately the process that causes the fatty liver is the result of inflammation hitting or interfering with an enzyme called JNK3. So I think it's JNK3. It's one of the junk ones. So that's the cause. So address the root cause first, you can support the liver with something like the Ultra Clear or one of those at the same time, but you have to address that root cause first.
Okay, makes sense. We have 3 or 4 questions left. It's
Okay.
just past 8:15. How do you feel about chelation therapy for heavy metal detox?
Yeah, if you can afford it, financially and time-wise, because it costs a lot, it takes a lot of time to do the treatments. I would approve of it. You do need to do nutrient support because chelation takes minerals out as well, and high-dose vitamin C orally to support it. But that is the quick and most effective way to get toxins out. My naturopath recommended me to do, I think it was 12 rounds of chelation therapy at 1.5 hours each, only during the day while I was working, and I couldn't do it. So we did the nutrient route, and it works.
Yeah, okay, that's really good to know. If someone cannot tolerate cruciferous vegetables, which are great for detox, would you recommend a supplement with indole while detoxing?
Yeah, that would do it. I wonder, the question is why they can't do those things, and I would suspect it's a gut bacteria problem. So I would kind of look at addressing that, and maybe testing a supplement that's made of powdered broccoli and cauliflower and see if that's an issue.
Yeah. Are synthetic vitamins toxins?
Oh man, I think I did a rant about this when I was teaching the full-time program one day, because somebody who should have known better did a whole hit piece on synthetic vitamin C. And it boiled down to this, because I wasted 5 hours of my life developing my rebuttal. Ascorbate is ascorbate is ascorbate. It doesn't matter if it comes from, it's grown on GMO corn or it comes from some other source. It comes from oranges. If it's just the molecule, it's just the molecule. So how do you make a synthetic vitamin? You can make them. And if it's a synthetic version, it's not the vitamin, it's a different molecule called vitamin C, we'll say, but it's not. So, yeah, synthetic vitamins, they might have some action, right? Because they're analogs, they're close. But I think ultimately they interfere with the vitamin that you actually have. So I don't know if I answered the question. What was the question again?
Are synthetic vitamins toxins? I mean, there might be an issue too as to what the binders are, preservatives, dyes, and things.
Right. So, yeah, every synthetic molecule, the body will consider to be a toxin.
Yeah. Okay. What about chlorophyll?
That's it?
Mm-hmm.
I do like chlorophyll. You do have to have a clean source of chlorophyll, but I strictly use it as a binder. I don't take it for any other reason. And I don't use chlorophyll on its own. I actually make my own detox powder with chlorophyll, spirulina, glycine, bentonite clay, and activated charcoal. That's quite a hefty upfront cost and modified citrus pectin, because that alone, just that one's $100 and something bucks. But I mix up a week's worth, 2 weeks worth, and do a little bit every night before bed. But chlorophyll I do like, as long as it's clean, and tablets, powders, any way you can get it in.
Okay. Yeah. There's a follow-up question about the non-alcohol fatty liver. It's from a client this person is working with. It's from antibiotic use. He or she had multiple surgeries and was on antibiotics for a long time.
Right. I don't know if that can actually cause non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It might cause something that looks similar to it, like inflamed liver. Um, so I would still make sure that none of that root cause I talked about is there. I would definitely look at anti-inflammatories. And in this case, I would look at detoxing the liver and supporting generation of healthy liver tissue.
Okay, that makes sense. Can you recommend a safe bentonite clay that doesn't contain traces of lead?
This one's a kind of a hot topic too. And I think the reason anybody is talking about lead and bentonite clay, other than pulled from known toxic sources, is there's a lot of people who are paid by pharma to make anything good look bad. So bentonite clay binds heavy metals. That's what it does. There are heavy metals everywhere. And so that clay is going to have it's going to have some lead in there, but it's bound already. It's not going to be released. So it's not going to be released in the GI tract. It's just like a non-issue. It's there. You're going to find aluminum in there as well. And so you're going to find, depending where it is in the world, you're going to find all the breakdown products of like the rocks in the area, right? Or the tectonic plates. So what you really want to do is find the cleanest version that you can and not worry about the amount that's in there. And I can't remember the bentonite clay that we have. I actually got mine on Amazon. Got mine from Foods for Life. So from a good health supplement store. So yeah, that's all I can tell you right now.
Okay, we do have two more, I think, quick questions, and then I think we'll close it off. I don't see any more coming in. There's a question here. What about the use of creatine? But I don't understand the rest of the question. I'm wondering if it's a typo. So Rakesh, if you're there, do you want to clarify? So we'll see if we get a clarification there. In the meanwhile, which brand of chlorophyll would you recommend?
I would go with any of the mainstream supplement providers. Like I know Now makes them, I think Natural Factors. So basically, if it's a mainstream supplement company, then you're good.
Okay. Do you want to
Sure
mention creatine?
Tell me more about read what you got.
It just says, what about the use of creatine? But I think there's a typo beyond that. Per word out, I think. I don't know what that means. So does creatine ring a bell for you within this topic at all?
It does have some roles, but...
Oh, I guess it's per workout.
Yeah. Like, is it safe? I think it's been used for quite a while. I don't recommend going super high doses on it. I do like creatine in the context of mental health, not so much as a component for detox. I think I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Zeolite? What about zeolite?
Yes, zeolite's one of the binders. There's two other binders that I use, but they're really expensive. Zeolite, which is powdered lava from specific flows. One of the main ones is in South America. Well, these are ancient flows. And when you crush them up really fine, the structure, the physical structure kind of makes a claw type thing. So it almost like chelates. And then there's a charge to it that binds the toxin as well. So known to be very effective, especially against mercury and lead. And so zeolite. The other one I like is the fulvic acids. So these molecules also act like chelators and binders as well. That's something like Shilajit, one of the main working components of it is fulvic acid, and a couple other of those analogs.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah. Okay. I'd like to sneak a question in here. I don't see any more that's come up.
Sure.
Glyphosate. So there's newish research suggesting that it's taking the place, I think, of a glycine molecule. Do you know anything about that? And then that has implications on glutathione detoxification.
Right. So, yeah, glyphosate basically swaps in, or it basically it decreases the capacity to use glycine in the body, and glycine is one of the components of glutathione. It's also a very important neurotransmitter in the brain. So a big problem. Also affects magnesium in a big way as well, which we need for detox and the brain. So the reason when I told you the 5 ingredients, the detox formula, one of the reason glycine is there is not to make glutathione, it's to counter the glyphosate that comes in on everything. So,
Okay. All right. Great. Well, thanks for that clarification. And I think we will end it there. Paul, this has been a fantastic talk. Thank you so, so much. And everyone, thank you for attending. If you're interested in the detoxification course, which is starting September 11th, go to our website and you can, under the continuing education tab, you'll see how to register. Alternatively, you can contact Colleen at our school. That's Colleen, Colleen, at Institute of Holistic Nutrition. So have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, everybody. We'll end it here.
great. Thanks everybody for staying. Thanks for coming.